What's up? What's happening? Welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, streaming live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. We are on YouTube at the Team 980 as well, where you see the graphic with breaking news. If you're listening on the radio, I have breaking news for you. Terry McLaurin has not reported to training camp. Adam Schefter, the first to report it just moments ago. This was, I think, expected. I think the biggest question was whether he was going to hold out or hold in. He has chosen the hold out. That means he is subject to a lot of fines, potentially. So that is definitely something worth monitoring, how quickly he can get back to Ashburn. Now, he might be in the area. He certainly was last week when he did, the Eastern Motors deal. So we know that this can change very quickly if the two sides can come to a deal. But Terry has chosen what I would describe as the most violent route, which is, fine, you're not going to pay me. I'm not going to show up. And I respect it. I don't know that's what I would do at this point if I was a player. I think it's important to note that the CBA says that if you take fines for not showing up to training camp, you cannot have the team excuse them. Obviously, if there would be something that happens before training camp and you were to get an excused absence, that's a different story. But if you're in a contract dispute and you have an unexcused absence from training camp, you cannot later, when you figure out your deal, waive the fines, which used to kind of be how this stuff would go. So when I say this is not the way that I would necessarily go about it, I just mean, like, man, Terry, good for him. He's got the money where he doesn't care about whatever thousands of dollars of fines he's about to rack up. But this is the most uncomfortable, most confrontational way to do this. And, you know, Trey Hendrickson's doing the same thing in Cincinnati. Shamar Stewart's doing the same thing in Cincinnati. And I think, like, first of all, I just, rather than, like, go straight into analysis of who's right and wrong and ultimately rehash a bunch of stuff that we've already talked about over the last days, weeks, and months, like, my first reaction is this is sad. Like, this guy is everything you want in a player. This is everything you want in a teammate, everything you want in a leader, everything you want in a guy who wears a C on his chest and reps your organization. He is a fan favorite who has earned that through his style of play, who he is as a man, who he is in the community, what he's done in the community. A guy who's been nominated for Walter Payton Man of the Year. Like, this guy is everything you want your kids to have as a role model, as a football player, as a professional athlete. And now the organization, which has turned itself around in just a year under Adam Peters' stewardship, under Dan Quinn's stewardship, they're at odds with him. That stinks for those of us on the outside who want to see them succeed. Yes, there is, of course, impact of the salary cap and the finances and all of this, but like on a human, emotional level, I hate this. It is your two friends or your parents, or insert your analogy here, fighting. And you're just sitting on the side being like, ooh, I like you both. Please just stop fighting. Stop arguing. I would like for you to get along. And that's kind of where I am with this. And again, you know, we don't know what the numbers are. And we will get a sense for the person who I would guess knows the most is John Keim, because he always knows the most. And John is going to join us at 5 o'clock today to talk about that. He also sat down with Mayor Bowser yesterday. So we have football, we have non-football with Keim at 5. But as of right now, like, it just to me comes down to both sides are saying the right thing, that they want to get a deal done. In that way, I do think they will ultimately get a deal done. Hilariously, the other thing we talk about with John is the RFK stuff, and that is also a scenario where I'm like, you know what? They're going to get a deal done. It's just a matter of how quickly. Phil Mendelssohn on earlier with Grant and Danny saying that, like, he thinks they're very far along in their negotiations with the council and the team, and that the next step is kind of back in the mayor's court. So, you know, that deal going on simultaneously in the background. But as far as the McLaurin news, I really am surprised. I guess that's the other thing for me. Like, initial reaction, this happened in the break between Russell's show and mine. Like, this is very fresh. I'm processing it in real time. It certainly thought of the possibility, but as we sit here and doing it, I'm honestly surprised we're at this point. Just normally when there's two sides that see the game the same way, that get along very well, that have expressed in no uncertain terms that they would like to come to a long-term agreement for the player to stay with the team. And the team is like, we would like the player long-term. The player is like, I want to be here. It's important to me to get this done. Typically, it's not this difficult to get to a middle ground. And this is why I just wonder what the terms are. Like, is this a 2 versus 3 versus 4 year thing? Is the team like, we'll give you a 2-year extension, and Terry's like, I would like a 4-year extension or a 5, like DK Metcalf got. But is it hard to come to a middle ground because it's not 2 versus 3 and we're picking one? It's like, no, you're 2 and I'm 4. I'm 2 and you're 5. Is it from a money standpoint? Terry wants like 34 and the team wants 27, and getting to 31 in the middle is too far to go for each side. That neither of them is like, no, like. Team might be like, oh, I'll go to 29 or I'll go even to 30 flat. And Terry's like, no, I'm not doing 30 flat. Garrett Wilson's making X. DK Metcalf is making Y. And like, I want those numbers. I'm not going down to that number. So that even the middle ground is too far for each side to go. Is it contract language? Is it guarantees? Like, without knowing what they're actually fighting over, it's hard to say, like, as someone who's a neutral observer, what is correct. To reiterate things that I've said all along here, I don't think the Commanders are in some huge financial crunch that they need to be skimping on this contract. It really must come down to them not wanting to overstep in terms of the market. And that is something that GMs feel a responsibility for, and owners feel a responsibility for. You don't want to mess up the market for everyone else. You don't want to set the precedent to where you're like, yeah, but we paid no one else pays 30-year-old receivers like this, but we did, and that messes up the next team. Like that, it's kind of the integrity of the market. I would personally be like, screw the integrity of the market. I'm going to do what's best for me. And if I think a player is worth it, I'm going to do that. And if I don't think a player is worth it, if in the future, 30-year-old player or whatever is like, well, you did it for Terry, I'd be like, Terry was one of one. You think you're Terry McLaurin? You think you went through the stuff that Terry McLaurin went through? You think, he set the touchdown record. Did you break his record? No, then get out of my office. Like, I have no problem having those individual thoughts, but that's not necessarily how the league always works. So I'm very surprised that we're here. It's obviously not shocking in that, like, yeah, there's a contract dispute. But considering the people involved, the integrity, how much they care about their integrity, I'm very surprised that we have a contract holdout for Terry McLaurin. We were going to start the show today with more from Adam Peters. So let's do this. First of all, let's let you hear from Peters earlier today. So coming up next, Peters on McLaurin. He was asked about it, Dan Quinn. We'll play you every question, answer, response that we have on the Terry front coming up in the next segment. Following that, it's a Vibe Check Tuesday. So your calls at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. That is where you can voice your opinion, your concerns, your whatever on the Terry McLaurin situation, which is now officially, after McLaurin did not report today for the conditioning test, and just to say here, present at training camp, a holdout. So you can go ahead and start lining up on the phones, 301-230-0980. You'll hear from Adam Peters next. We might also bring back, if there's anything that's relevant, some of the sound from Terry a week ago. But we'll make sure we have this whole thing covered here throughout this entire first hour before we get to hour 2 and John Keim here on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. Taking your calls in about 10 minutes, but you can go ahead and get on the phones now because I'm sure they're going to fill up. We already got a couple in. 301-230-0980. Vibe Check Tuesday. Terry McLaurin is holding out. And we didn't know that this morning. And we didn't know that this morning, which way that was going to go, because Adam Peters was asked directly about it. And so this morning, the Commanders general manager stepped to the podium. He, of course, was joined by Dan Quinn. Quinn talked about a bunch of stuff as well. But a lot of the obviously, as you would imagine, a lot of the Terry questions went towards Adam Peters. And here is what the Commanders general manager had to say when asked about what his expectations were today on report day for Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about that, but just like with really all of our players, we're expecting everybody to be here today.
And then for both of you, he talked a lot last week about his situation, a lot of frustration. He talked about wanting to feel valued. I'm curious what you guys thought about that. And then, Adam, if you can talk about where things do stand with him as far as an extension.
Yeah, I mean, first, I think, without a doubt, I think everybody in this building values Terry very much. And we knew that coming in, and we knew that even more after spending a year with him. In terms of where we're at, we've had conversations recently, and we'll look to have some more conversations, and we're going to do everything we can in order to get a deal done.
So that was the messaging this morning. Like, we're going to try everything we can. We haven't talked to him about whether he's coming in or not. And then we learned this afternoon, like, he's not coming because otherwise he'd be here. Terry McLaurin, again, not reporting for camp this afternoon. I find the language that we'll do whatever it takes to get a deal done very silly. I guess you have to say it. I would appreciate, like, we are trying to do a deal that we think is fair to Terry and fair for the team. I think that's more accurate because, like, we'll do anything to get a deal done. Okay, we'll just give him what he wants. You have a deal. By the same token, like, that is true from the player side as well. I'll do everything possible to get a deal done. Will you take less money? Well, everything except for that. So I understand it's what people say. I'm kind of having a little bit of fun with the semantics here. But it is kind of funny to me to hear that and just be like, oh, we'll do everything in our power to get a deal done, except for give him the amount of money, years, and guarantees that he wants. And so again, my question here is, like, is that actually prudent team building by Adam Peters? We don't know because we don't know the numbers. But we know that there is some value that the team puts on Terry. They obviously think very highly of him as a person. How could you not? But what that actually translates into in dollars and cents is still very much an unknown. Up next, Adam Peters was talked about balancing. And this I thought was a great question by David Aldridge. And Anthony, actually, do you know, is the question in here? Because if it is, it's not. Okay, it's not. Okay, well then, basically, David, who, by the way, I don't know if you caught wind of this. There was some horrendous, like, overturned dump truck on the bridge this morning going from Maryland to Virginia. So, like, all the Maryland people were, like, running into this press conference as it was starting and, like, as it was going because the traffic was absolutely bananas, which meant the big group chat that a bunch of people are in was going very, very hilariously off the rails. But anyway, David, huffing and puffing, runs in and is like, so, oh, right, I'm a Hall of Famer. Let me ask a great question. And the question was, how do you balance Terry's history with the future you're trying to build and your present situation? Here was Adam Peters' answer.
Yeah, that's always probably the tricky part of any negotiation is figuring all that out. And, in terms of understanding the market, understanding our team, understanding, our financial situation and all that. But, I don't think I've been a part of a negotiation where it's been really linear and smooth and everything like that. But I think, understanding where they're at and understanding where we're at and trying to close that gap and come into something is really the kind of all the nuance of it and staying really above board and negotiating in good faith. All those things come together, and that's how you come to a deal. So as long as it fits in the construct of what you want to do and how you want to build it, and what the player would, Terry in this instance, is comfortable with. So that's what we're working towards, and we're having some good conversations, and we'll continue to.
The one big separation, the one big, I don't know what the right word here, deviation. I feel like I've used that word a lot lately, which is a weird word to use a lot. Anyway, the one big deviation from kind of Terry's side of things and Adam's side of things, and they both might be true because they're a week apart, is Adam says we've had some really good conversations. Terry last week said there have basically been no conversations. So is there a chance that after that press conference last week that talks have picked back up and they are trying to get something done, and there's been some kind of agreements on some things, other things are still farther apart, or it's like, hey, but also like, I don't know. I also find some of this stuff really silly at some point because, and who knows, maybe eventually I'll get to know more. Some tell-all book or some executive will tell me, or some agent will tell me how this goes. It'd be great to have like J.I. or Joel Corey to talk about this. But also, like, how hard is it to actually do this? Like, what are you? Oh, we're having talks. How hard are the talks? I want $30 million. Well, I want to give you 28. I want 30 million. I want 20. Like, what are they actually talking about here? At some point, there's got to be some like substantive argument. I mean, Anthony, am I missing something here? Like, the talks are Terry's agent writes numbers on a sheet of paper, push them across the table. This is what I want. Adam strikes through those numbers, writes down his own numbers, pushes them back. Like, I know sometimes it's like specific contract language and it gets very lawyery and, there's redlining and stuff. But I don't think we're at that stage. Like, that's what Shamar Stewart's arguing for. I don't understand, like, the depth of the talks here. Like, what eventually, like, you sit in the room, you agree on the numbers, or you don't. That feels like the bigness of this, the nature of these discussions. We're still at that point, not at, like, some detailed, nuanced language where there's a bunch of different options that only comes into play in specific scenarios. If this, then that gets avoided and that gets guaranteed and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they agree on numbers in years. And so if that's the case, I don't understand how we're getting closer to a deal. Oh, you would accept 33 but not 34? Well, I still only want to pay you 29. We're not any closer to a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where Adam Peters and, Terry are, though. Like, Adam Peters might not be fond of where the wide receiver market is just because it's so high and it's just continually, gradually shooting up. And then Terry just, like, he's not really budging. So, I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm trying to give them a little bit more credit, and I'm just like, I really am like flabbergasted about this. So it really, a lot of this, I feel like I sound snarkier than I want to, but it's coming from the fact that I just like, I truly cannot believe we are here with this player and this team and this front office, because I think genuinely they want to be, like, this is a compliment. They want to be together. You could have the, like, all right, Terry's side is like, we want 34 or we want 33 because we want to be, let's go 33, right? We want to be above Garrett Wilson. Well, no other 30-plus receiver except for Tyreek Hill has ever gotten over 30. A 30-year-old has gotten over 30 million, so we'd like to give you 29. No, like, we're not accepting that. We just said we want 33. Okay, well, all right, we'll give you 30. And Terry's side goes, no. And they're like, we'll come down to 32 and a half. Okay, well, you're getting closer at that point. What I also wonder is each side bringing new data to the table, right? Is, like, certainly if you're Terry's agent, you're going, Wilson got 32 and a half. Here's our numbers versus Wilson's numbers. We think we're worth X. And if you are like, we ran a formula here that based off of Terry's games played in college and the pros versus the average 30-year-old receiver, we actually think he should be valued as a 28-year-old receiver. And here are the 28-year-old numbers. The regression line, like, what kind of data is being exchanged here to try to convince the other side to come up or come down? Like, that's the thing I would be genuinely fascinated of, because they are obviously not just taking a sheet of paper and passing it back and forth like a cartoon negotiation. There is a lot that goes in. And having talked to some agents, I remember talking to one agent this summer and getting past some information, and like the amount of homework they had of, this player at this age did X and they got paid Y, and my guy is X and he gets paid blah, and we think he should get blah plus. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes in here. Again, I think that Terry's side is trying to make an argument that Terry is an unprecedented player. I actually tend to believe that and buy that. But if you're Adam Peters trying to dissect what that actually translates to in dollars and cents, I think is very difficult. Real quick, is there an urgency to get this done before camp? That was the last question that Adam Peters was asked on Terry McLaurin. We'll actually tell you what, we'll play that answer for you and start taking your calls on a Vibe Check Tuesday next on the Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. John Keim, 5 o'clock, ESPN.com. He talked to Mayor Bowser yesterday, and plus he'll have more on the Terry McLaurin holdout. We will also do our first 53-man roster projection, a pre-camp edition, if you will, coming up at 5:30. So we're locked and loaded on a Tuesday here on the show. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, so your calls in just a second at 301-230-0980. But first, one more from Adam Peters. Peters asked about the urgency to get a contract extension with McLaurin done, with camp bearing down. Obviously, they didn't get it done, and McLaurin didn't report. But how is that impacting his timeline and his desire to get a deal done sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think those were, I wasn't so much directly involved, but I was a part of it, so I understood how it went.
Can you pause it for a second so I can set that question up better?
I think that's just kind of.
He was asked about through the context, like what he's talking about there. We'll start the answer over. I just forgot this is how we started the answer. My bad. Host mea culpa. He was asked specifically about the contract holdouts that he had privy to in San Francisco. Guys like Debo a couple years ago, but also Trent Williams, et cetera, and how that compares and sets him up for this negotiation with Terry.
Yeah, I think those were, I wasn't so much directly involved, but I was a part of it, so I understood how it went, and a lot of contract. I think that's just kind of the nature of our business. You obviously would like to get these things done quicker than longer, but it's not always going to happen that way. So I think for me, just seeing those things secondhand, really not firsthand, but understanding how that went, just understanding that, first of all, we're dealing with a really, in the case of Terry, a really good player and a really good person. So really understanding that and never losing sight of that, and making sure that, every conversation we have is very, straightforward, honest, and in good faith, and just keeping that mindset throughout, because there's going to be twists and turns, but just having, that confidence and just understanding that our goal is to get a long-term deal done. And so just keeping focused on that, and, whatever happens, along the way, just understand that he's a great player, and we want to keep him here.
Again, everyone's saying all the right things, but it is those are words. Eventually, you have to put pen to paper. You have to put down an offer that the player likes, feels like they're valued, and that has not happened yet. And obviously, the team has not put, or Terry's side has not put an offer in front of the team that they like either. It is worth pointing out that, as we have many times before, like, Terry's agent is kind of the unspoken party here, and there's definitely some rumblings that he is not always the easiest one to negotiate with. Again, there are worse things you could say about an agent than they're difficult to negotiate with. It's nice when you feel like there's more productivity there, but obviously you got to be able to deal with everybody if you're in Adam Peters' shoes. That's part about being a general manager, and ultimately the point is to get the player on the field, and we'll see if they're able to find common ground. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Gary in Upper Marlboro. Gary, thanks for calling. Happy training camp, and you're back on the Hoffman Show.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for taking my call. I am not worried about it at all. I'm really not. Terry's going to be with Washington. We see this play out every year with different organizations, and very rarely does it turn out where a guy ends up sitting out the season or getting traded. That very rarely happens. So if Terry, sits out deep in the training camp, I think there's some positives to that. I think that Terry's going to be in bubble wrap. He's not going to risk an injury during training camp. We've already seen one with Detroit where they've lost someone, and it gives Jaden an opportunity to connect with maybe some younger receivers and build up, some playing with them. I just think it's going to get done. Terry has no leverage here. Okay, he can't sit out the season. If he sits out the season, he'll never get that $14, $15 million back. And he's a 31-year-old wide receiver next year looking for a $30 million contract, and that's not going to happen. So it's going to happen at some point. I think Adam is handling this the right way. He's not negotiating in public. And I find it somewhat surprising or somewhat concerning. Why hasn't Terry come out and said, well, I'm asking for X amount of dollars? Okay, he's not tipping his hand. So I think that they're pretty far apart. But Terry has to understand he's not Garrett Wilson. He's not 25 years old. He's 30 years old. And you mentioned Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had his worst season last year as a 30-year-old. That may be something that Adam Peters is looking at. And Terry is what he is. We know what he's going to be. He's not going to be better next year. He's got 6-7 seasons of doing exactly what he did last year, absent all of the touchdowns that he had last year, which was fantastic. But his stats are somewhat similar to what he's had in prior years. You don't expect those to go up with a 30-year wide receiver, and I think that's what Adam is looking at. So I applaud him for digging his heels in. He may be taking the Jerry Reinsdorf thing that did with Scottie Pippen. Look, you signed this contract. Don't come back to me before then. And I think that's what some of these owners and these general managers are going to do with people like Terry that at that age, saying you sign a 4-year contract, don't come back to me looking for an extension. If you want to gamble on yourself, sign a 1-year contract, and you'll always be at the top of the market.
Gary, I actually appreciate a lot of what you're saying because I think you've well articulated the management side of it in a way that's fair, except for the last point. And I don't want to get too off because there's multiple things I think are worth discussing here. But let's go to the last point first. If that's the case, then I don't want to see a player ever get cut early ever again. If you're going to talk about honoring contracts, then you can save X dead money on the you can take some dead money, but you have X cap savings. If you cut me, no, we signed a 4-year contract. It's 4 years. You don't get to cut me early. You can't have it both ways. And so when players perform up, the system that has been established is when star players are entering the last year of a multi-year deal, they typically get an extension. By the way, it is often something that is good for the team because they can often bring the salary cap number down in that first year because they can prorate some of the money into bonus money, convert it, stretch it out over multiple years. And so it often is actually good for the team. And so when players are like, hey, can we do this thing that gets me more money in the long term and helps the team's cap situation in the short term, we can't be like, oh, they're greedy. No, that's how the system works. That's how it's set up to operate. And rarely do star players that are still producing at a high level actually play out their full deals into free agency. That's just not a thing that happens in this league.
But Craig, can I just say this one thing?
Sure.
The salaries are going out of control. They're
According
way
to
out
who?
of control. I mean, I like the players. I like the players getting money, but as far as what they're getting per year, okay, it's astronomical. And I'm not saying this for every player. I'm talking about players that are in Terry's position where you know, 4 years ago or whatever, he could have asked for a 3-year contract. He asked for a 4-year contract. What I'm saying is you're 30 years old and you're going to be in your 30-year-old contract year when your contract ends. Okay. I'm saying ownership may take a different position on these contracts because of the astronomical value of these contracts. I mean, you've got a $40 million
Are you talking
year
about the sheer dollar? Hold on, Gary. I'm asking a just simple clarifying question. Are you talking about the sheer amount of money the guys make or the percent of the salary cap?
No, I'm talking about the sheer amount of money.
Well, that's irrelevant because that is just a percent that's a revenue split. The salary cap isn't some arbitrary number. That's collectively bargained. And then how each team splits up its salary cap is going to, if you're a receiver who makes X percent and the salary cap is jumping by $40 million a year, we're going to get to 30 and 40 million as we have. That's not a reflection of guys are making way relative more money than they used to. The cap has jumped astronomically in the last decade. That's why we're at 30 million.
No, so you're saying a guy that's making $20 million 2 years ago and making $40 million today, he's not making more money just because the cap went up?
He is
making. No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is 20 to 40 isn't the right numbers, but probably 28 to 40 is.
Right. Okay. Granted, but what I'm saying is, if you want to stay at the top of the market. Okay, if you always want to try to be at the top of the market, don't take a 5-year deal with the way the money is changing right now. Okay, you take a 3-year deal. And what I'm saying is owners are probably going to take the position that, listen, you want to sign a 5-year contract, that's fine. And you're right. If it benefits both parties, then we'll do it. But in this situation, it's not benefiting both parties. Okay, it's not benefiting the team and Terry to extend him and give him a $15 to $17 million raise. That's not
But he's not
helpful to the
getting a
franchise.
15 to
That's
$17 million raise. He's asking for like a
what is he
five.
getting, what is he paying?
His cap number this year is
I'm sorry.
25.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard somewhere where somebody said it was 18. Okay.
No, that might be his
but
guaranteed
still,
money, but like the cap number, and you talk about the pro, like it depends on what you're talking about, and the structures, like that gets into a ton of detail, and we won't know the detail till a week after he signs the contract, and it processes through the NFL stuff, and then all the SPO tracks and over the cap gets it. And Gary, I gotta let you run because great call as always.
Okay.
I always enjoy sparring with you
call.
because I think you bring up great points that should be flushed out. But I gotta run because we got more people on the phones. But like, yeah, like the base number versus the cap number. To me, if you're a fan, don't worry about other people's money. Like, it's billionaires and millionaires. Some of you listening might be in Terry's range, and God bless you. I'm sure that unless Mark Ine's listening or Mitch Rails is listening today, and if you are, hi Mark, hi Mitch, good to see you. Like, you're probably not in Josh Harris's range. Like, the money is set. The salary cap is relative to revenue, so it's not like they're just finding more money. Like, this is money that the players and the league has generated for the purpose of paying the players. Like, it's got to go to some players. If you think it should be more evenly distributed versus top heavy, like that's a different argument. The other thing I would say to one of Gary's points that I think is really important is the level that Terry is producing at is requisite with being a $30 million receiver. And so if we say, oh, all Terry's going to do is do it, he's not going to get better. He's just going to do what he has done. Maybe even his touchdown number comes down. If he gets 75 catches, 1,200 yards, and 8 touchdowns, like that's a $30 million player. That's where we are in the league. And so that's why I'm so curious. Is it Terry asking for way more than that? Is the team saying way less than that? Are they saying, we think that you're going to decline and be worth, like I know Neil Greenberg did an analysis for the Washington Post that was like, he's only going to be worth this, and it was way less. But then you also have the, kind of intangible value of Terry McLaurin, the leader of the team, Terry McLaurin, the role model citizen, Terry McLaurin, the guy whose number could be retired, certainly going into the Ring of Honor. We'll see if he's a number retired guy based off the next 3 years. But like, that's who we're talking about. And what kind of message do you want to send with who you pay and how much? How much fighting do you want to do when a guy has done everything you've asked? Like, you want players to feel like you could get rewarded. So that's the player side of it. Management is trying to manage the salary cap structure. They are trying to set a precedent of like, we're not going to be walkovers in negotiation. And somewhere all those factors have to meet in the middle. 301-230-0980. More, Anthony, we can kill trending. More of, because we know what's trending. Terry didn't report for training camp. That's what's trending. We'll take more of your calls next. Allegedly, we're going to do a 53-man roster projection coming up at 5:30. I think it might be a 57-man roster projection. There's two. Anthony, I need some new rules.
57 is crazy, Craig.
There's too many dudes.
There are.
Adam Peters did a good job. One dude who is going to make the roster, we're not sure when he's going to show up, is Terry McLaurin. He has officially no-showed for camp. He is a holdout. Adam Schefter reporting that at 4 o'clock today. At the start of our show, we're taking your calls on it at 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. Let's keep the calls rolling with Mark in Largo. Mark, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
What's up, my Pisces brother? How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
Well, Pisces, aren't you, Craig?
I think so. I don't really do the astrology. But I think that's correct.
Look, this is bad on Adam, and I'm gonna tell you why it's bad on Adam. Just hear me out. That last caller, I'm not gonna say he's an idiot. He's misguided on his information, and I'm gonna tell you why I say this. 6 months ago, really a year ago, we all knew it was coming to this point. We all talked about the same thing last year. Trevor performs, going to get a contract extension. Adam had this plan 6 months ago, right after the title game. Would have been a good idea to shore this up. Then you could have offered him $28 million right then and there. Why? Because Garrett and everybody else's contract didn't come out yet. You could have got ahead of this before everything got crazy. See, a great GM goes out and they say, you know what? We may want to get this stuff done early because
Mark,
the wide receiver market
we can't do this because, like, what if Terry's agent said, I want 33 then? Like, by the combine,
no one was getting 33. I understand that. No one was getting 33 then.
Okay, well, if they were getting 31, 32, and the team was like, no way.
28? What about 28?
There's no way I don't think Terry's signing for less than 30. So, like,
okay, if
we can do the mock negotiation thing. Like, you be Adam Peters. I'll be Terry's agent. You offer me a deal. It's February 25th. We're at the Combine in Indianapolis.
Your birthday. Okay, we'll do it on your birthday.
It's not my birthday.
Okay,
it was a couple days.
Okay.
I intentionally didn't pick my birthday because you already brought it up. But offer me a deal.
Good.
Offer me a deal. I'll be Terry's agent.
3 years for $93 million, $30 million, and a chance with bonuses, you can go to 110.
Okay, what are the guarantees?
3 years guaranteed.
Well, that deal would have been done. Like, you're also now not saying numbers that you just said 2 minutes ago. That's not 28 a year. That's like 31, 32 a year.
That's 30. No, well, okay, fine. But see,
like, that's the point. The details matter. The numbers matter. You can't just like this. These aren't hypotheticals.
Okay, fine. But Adam should have got ahead of this, man.
He might have tried it. They said no. That's how negotiations work. Mark.
Craig, here's the problem. Craig, here's the problem, Craig. Okay, this is why I say this is all on him. If you can't handle Terry, what gives anyone confidence he can handle Jaden in 3 years?
Because like every relationship is different. Mark, thanks for the call. I gotta let you go. Because, like, again, if you've been following this closely, Terry's agent is notoriously difficult to deal with. Multiple contracts, multiple players. Guys and gals have reported on this quite a bit. Like, he might have tried to get ahead of it. Adam probably did try to get ahead of it. And if Terry's agent says no, or maybe there was even a better offer that's on the table now. Maybe they offered 30, and Terry's agent was like, I know Wilson's up. I know Metcalf's going to get a new deal. I'm going to wait. I want to see what those numbers are. And we'll come back to you in the spring once those guys have signed. What if that was the case? Adam is doing a great job, to Gary's point, which I thought was a very good one. Although I think Gary did sidestep when he was like, well, Terry's doing the same thing, and I don't like that. I think it's good. You don't negotiate in the media. I would love if they negotiated in the media. I'm in the media. You all would love it because then you would get to consume the media. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say, hey, Adam, really nice job on not negotiating in the media and being a professional, and then complain that we don't know the information. Let's go to Reggie in DC. Reggie, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. You're going to get the last word in on this. Well, at least the last call in on this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Craig, and again, if you paid attention, we're adults, so you can kind of listen and kind of hear somebody's tone and mannerism. Terry thought after we finished the season, everybody was on a high, right? This was a foregone conclusion. We'll get it done, and then that was it. When he did that press conference, you knew, just hearing him, how disappointed he sounded. He figured, man, it's going to be done over the summer. Quick phone call, boom, it's done. You cannot pay Terry what DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is in his draft class. That's almost like you. So you right now, you're the young up and coming superstar. I'm a vet, but yet you make more than me. But you and I started in the business together. So you and I started. Came out at the hot young superstar. So I'm looking at you saying, wait a minute, if Craig is doing this, then I need to be doing as Craig, yet I'm 10 years older. Just using that as an example. No, it doesn't work that way. You can just tell. He's going to play out this last year. We are not going to get a contract done. It's highly doubtful that he's going to sit out the year because he'll come back next year in the same position. We either, I hate to say it, but I'm going to call you back when it happens, either trade him or I don't know how long he figures he's going to stay out. Because one thing I was thinking, Craig, okay, how many years is he asking? Because if you do a contract, right, what if he asking for 3 additional years tacked on? You got this year, because you got to guarantee this year. You pretty much already got that. And then if you throw on 3 additional years, how much guarantee you talking about? At least, what, maybe 80, 90? You can't do that. And then I don't even know if Terry would be like, okay, I'm going to do 2 years. So give me 2 years tacked on to what I'm doing now. That's probably still going to be a guarantee of almost, if you conservative, going to be like in the 80s. I don't think from a financial perspective, we're going to be able to meet what he wants.
This is where I kind of disagree, Reggie. I appreciate the call, and I think it's good. You're putting good food for thought out there. The Commanders financially are fine, unless there's some cap minefield that I'm unaware of, or they have the intentions of spending oodles of money on particular now look, if they are looking at the Micah Parsons situation in Dallas, and they have it on good authority that Micah ain't signing jack there, and that Jerry, because he's stubborn, will not franchise Micah, and Micah Parsons is going to be a free agent next summer, that changes the math. That 1,000% changes the math. And if they can't say that, obviously there'd be threats of tampering. They would, it's bad business. It's a bunch of stuff. But if they, in their heart of hearts, know Micah Parsons ain't signing in Dallas, and we're going to have a chance, and we have the best chance because we have cap space and we have Dan Quinn, that's a different equation. Outside of that, what have we learned from free agency the last couple of years? There aren't free agents available because teams re-sign their best players. That's how it goes down. And so the Commanders have the money. It's really about, do they want to give in to what they think is an above market asking price for Terry? The answer is clearly no. I can't blame them for that. That's good business. By the same token, I also, if I'm Terry, look at DK Metcalf. One, that contract is so silly once you get into the details of it. It's not that hard to beat on the guaranteed money. And if I was the team, I'd be like, we'll pay you more guaranteed than DK, but we're not doing 5 years. So there's a way to do better the DK deal without it being the DK deal looks great on paper if you're the agent and nobody clicks on the details. And it's actually a very team-friendly deal. Even though the numbers are big on paper. So Terry's better than DK Metcalf. If I'm Terry, that would be my point. It's you can tell me DK's 2 years younger. Okay, fine. I'll offset that with the fact that I'm better. And also on the trade front, I would rather say, fine, I'll call your bluff and you're going to hold out. And I don't care if you show up in week 3 when you realize that I'm seriously not giving you a new deal. I would rather do that and have Terry McLaurin for this year and franchise him next year and go through this whole rigmarole again than trade him, because they are in a win now window and Terry McLaurin is an awesome football player. So that should be said too. I'm sure Terry's side is probably terrified of that being the case, but that is a realistic outcome here, is that they do play out the year, and then they franchise him, and they would go through this whole thing again next summer. All right, when we get back, ESPN's John Keim. Hour number 2 of the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, also on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. Right now, just after 5 o'clock, it is time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not My Beat.
ESPN's John Keim, a man who knows something about, we have this previously scheduled interview, but there's news. He had a scheduled interview with Mayor Bowser that he conducted yesterday. You can listen to the thing in full on his podcast, The John Keim Report. Obviously, the news from the weekend with the president's social media activity and such infiltrated that interview. But John, we'll actually start on the field. I thought we were going to start off the field with your interview with the mayor and the latest on RFK. But as of 4 o'clock today, Terry McLaurin did not report to Commander's camp. I'm not going to ask you, like, are you surprised? Because obviously when a guy's in a contract holdout, that's not surprising. But if I were to take you back to, like, March, and if I asked John Keim in March, Terry McLaurin's going to hold out, is that surprising to you? Would you have thought that's where we were headed back then?
In March, probably not. Probably not, because, we've all been around these things, and they typically get done. I think you hit a point when he didn't come to the mandatory minicamp. Now, he did that last time too. I think he left the voluntary stuff that you kind of knew that it would be different, right? Like that, you knew it would be different at that point. And so I think at that time is when you start to say, okay, there's a really good chance that this goes into training camp, whether hold out or hold in.
So I know this has kind of been the $1 million question. You certainly have more information on this than I do. So what do you like? Where do we think they are apart? Is it money? Is it years? Is it how they value the player? Like what is the disconnect here as far as we know?
Well, it definitely feels like it's the money and, per year, et cetera. It does not sound like they're, I don't want to say how close they are, but there's a definite gap. That's why he's not here. That's why he was frustrated last week and expressed his frustration last week. So the hard part is with that gap that he can look at guys like DK Metcalf, whom his numbers in the league are comparable to DK Metcalf since they both came in the same draft class. He can look at that and say, wait a minute, this is where I belong. And he just got a deal worth $32.5 per year with 60 guaranteed. So he can look at that and say that, but the team can then and Garrett Wilson just got a deal, but Garrett Wilson is going to turn 25. He's 5 years younger. That makes a big difference when you're looking at a contract of this size, and McLaurin's going to be 30 in September. That makes a big difference. So, like, all of that adds up, and it's why it's hard. It's why I've always thought it would be hard, because what's the real comp here? Like, we can all look and say, yeah, he kind of is like DK Metcalf, again, same draft class, similar numbers, but DK is a couple years younger, and that makes a difference. So, like, that's why I thought, it would be very tricky to get this one done in a reasonable amount of time after it started to drag on. So that's the hard part, Craig.
John Keim, ESPN, with us. I mean, I think we all have soft spots for Terry, and we all want to see the guy get paid because we've all been here through the things that he's been here through, and we kind of understand what he's gone through as a leader on this team and the things he's had to answer for that were not anything that he had to do. He's just trying to play football, that and all that predates Adam and predates Josh Harris. So I think it's very easy for us to be like, they should just pay him. But what are the things the team is managing here? Because when I look at their cap sheet, it looks pretty clean. Like, I think they can afford to pay him, let's just say the DK Metcalf deal. Like, from a cap standpoint, it seems like that is feasible. One, am I missing something on the cap sheet or potential future things that could be on the cap sheet? And two, obviously that's not how business is done. You don't just pay guys the most you can do. So, like, what is the team trying to manage here in terms of how they're building their roster and how Terry fits in there?
I mean, one, there's always precedent too, because you do this for him and then, like, well, who's next you're going to do it for? And if you suddenly pay everybody more because, just because, then what are you doing? Like, that's not how, you know what I mean? Like, who else are you going to make the exception for? And, and is it, I mean, they're going to be, they could have a lot of really good players coming up, which is what Terry is. So is that, if you're the team, you don't want to set a certain precedent. They are very heavily analytic driven. And the analytics would show receivers, it's not Terry at age 30 that's the issue, Craig. It's Terry at age 31, 32, 33, maybe 34. Like, that's what you have to look like. He's already under contract this year. So age 30 is not the issue. It's beyond that. So, like, that's what you're also going to look at if you're the team. So that's why I say, like, you kind of knew it was always going to be an issue because at age 30 is a marker. And again, the analytics would show that. Whether that's fair or not in his case is, it's another matter. Like, everybody would want it. Listen, in everybody's work, you don't want to be judged by what everybody else did. You want to be judged by what you're doing, what you did, and what you can do. Like, everybody should want that. And I think that's where McLaurin, that's what he clearly wants. So I think the other, you do have Jaden's contract coming up, but that's not for several years. You do have, like, Tunsil, if you're going to re-sign him next year, that would be one as well that you're going to have to, wrestle with. But they really don't have a whole lot else because they have so many guys on those one-year deals and they're veterans that you don't have a lot of that, but you will have at some point other guys who are going to have to be re-signed. So, you have to take all that into consideration. I think the other thing is, like, clearly he means a lot to this fan base, not just like the fan base, the organization, the locker room, everything. Like, he is what people would want for a player on your team, right? I mean, he goes out there, works hard, plays with passion, produces, doesn't make, he's never been a quote unquote diva receiver. There have been receivers here in the past who would give young quarterbacks a hard time. That hasn't been him. So, like, there's a lot there that you say, okay, what's the value on that? And so I think that's part of it too, because you're right. Like, how do you factor that in for them to make sure you're taking care of one of your guys? And I think the last part, Craig, too, just looking at the divide, you have a guy here who was here through it. You mentioned all the garbage that went on here from the time he got here until last year, like, until 2023 or whatever, excuse me. And the Dan Snyder stuff, I mean, the losing, all these quarterbacks, et cetera, you would like, if you're him, like, hey, I went through all this. Can you reward me for that? Or just pay me for all that. And if you're them, you can say, well, we're the ones who have made it better. We're the ones why it's going to be better the next few years. So is that part of the disconnect? Because, I think that's why I say, like, there's a lot there. And you can look at each side and say, okay, that makes sense. So how do you get it resolved? Because you have to get this resolved. They're much better with him, and I think he does very well with them. So it's eventually you have to get this resolved, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is my reaction to the news off the top of the show is basically like obviously, like I said in the setup to my first question, like, I'm not surprised we're here as of yesterday or even as of a week ago, but, like, if you just take a step back, like, it is shocking, this player and this front office, how glowingly they speak about each other, the things they stand for. Like, I think I have a fundamental understanding who they are and what they're about, and they're about the same stuff. It just seems bizarre that this has gotten to this point. But let me ask you this, the last thing on Terry, and then I do want to get to the RFK stuff, and maybe even we'll see if we have time for actual on-field of people that showed up today, John. What a concept on the first day of training camp. When you say this is going to get resolved, there is a shrewd reality that if the team wanted to say, hey, man, we're apart, let's just put the contract negotiations behind us. We're going to play out the year. We'll do it again in the offseason. If Terry wants to keep holding out like he can, but all he's going to do is pick up fine money and then be a year older a year from now, eventually he'd probably just give in and come back. And then they could franchise tag him. And now you've got basically 2 years of pretty good money, and now Terry's trying to negotiate going into his age 32 season. That is obviously not a good deal for McLaurin. If the team wanted to be really shrewd, they could do that. Is there a chance that we at least do the first part of that he plays out this season on the current deal, or do you think they get something done?
I mean, I still would lean toward them getting something done because it just makes sense. And I'll say this, for McLaurin, part of you is like, okay, if you want to go tag me next year, it's 30. It'll be like what? I think it's $30.4 million, and that may be higher than what they're wanting to go right now. So, that would work out for him if they wanted to do that. And so, like, there's, Kirk Cousins parlayed that into a ton of money over the years, right?
It was really funny watching Bruce Allen tell on himself and the fact that he couldn't do basic math. That was one of my favorite things of the probably my only enjoyable part of the Kirk Cousins contract snafu back in the day.
There were a lot of things Bruce didn't do. But yeah, so could that scenario happen? Like, I'm not taking anything off the table because until you get it done, you have to account for anything. I would be, the hard part is too with the CBA, the new CBA, like, you're not allowed to waive that fine money. So how much are you willing to forfeit? Now, there have been some guys in the past like, okay, I'll get fined, but they'll make up for it with the deal. So, but it's a lot of money, man. It's a lot of money to not to have to, pay or whatever. So, like I said, Craig, I still think you would get something done because, keep in mind, it's the first time we've really gone through that this year in a while. Most of these situations, almost all, get resolved. It just maybe later in training camp. And it's, what you don't want is to have this drag on multiple weeks, because history pretty much shows, and maybe it's more anecdotal, but that guys who come in late, especially at skill spots, tend to get hurt more. Even if you're doing a great job staying in shape, as we know McLaurin would. So I think there's incentive to get it done just to avoid those scenarios. But Adam Peters was in San Francisco when they had one with Deebo Samuel, they had one with Nick Bosa, and those got resolved late. The Niners have had that a few times with others. Ayuk and Trent Williams got resolved late. So, that's why I say, like, I'm not jumping to the, oh my God, would he request a trade or would he play it out? All that stuff. Like, I think we're far from other scenarios at this point.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's highly unlikely they would trade him. I would call his bluff in the regular season before I would trade him if I was them. But we'll see. All right, John Keim with us from ESPN. So you yesterday came into the district, which is quite a hike for you. You live very far away, John, notoriously.
Yes, I need a helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you can get one, might as well. Those 4 letters, they do magic for you, John Keim of ESPN. You came in, you talked to Mayor Bowser. Phil Mendelssohn also was on Grant and Danny earlier today. He suggested that, like, the negotiations between the council and the team are going well. They're far down the line. They obviously have stuff they need to continue to figure out. What did you, like, as you walk out of Mayor Bowser's office or wherever you sat down with her yesterday, what was your biggest takeaway of where she is, where the team is, where the deal is for the Commanders to return to RFK?
I still think there's definite optimism, and I do think that a vote probably takes place within the next 2 weeks, within the next couple of weeks, right? So they are on recess, but they can still vote. So that won't be the holdup. Like, I think I would be really surprised if it went beyond a few weeks here. I think they know that if you don't get it done probably in early August, that the chances start to diminish about their ability to get the stadium built by 2030, because there's all sorts of things you still have to do in the district with environmental studies or whatever just to get that stadium down too, right? Whereas opposed to, like, to be honest, if you went to Landover right now, you could get a deal. If you got a deal done in 2 weeks, you could have the shovels in the dirt in a different part of that area that they own within a week. So it's just much faster there. We're here, just a lot more things to go through. So you want to get that done ASAP. And they all know that. And I still sense the optimism that it will get done. But I would say, I think there's always, especially for the mayor, I mean, she's not in the middle of it right now. Like, it's up to the council and the team. Obviously, they're trying to work with the council to get whatever amendments or get whatever things clarified to the approval. And, I think there could be a lot of times too, Craig, where if you're a reporter, you have a lot of editors looking at stories. Sometimes they just want to put their input in the story. So you want to say, like, hey, I did this. So if you're a council member, do you want to try and get some guidance so you can tell your constituents, hey, I got this for us, right? Which I don't blame them. Like, that's how this works. And so I think there's a lot of things going on, but it does sound like that something could be voted on within the next couple of weeks to get this moving along, because it has to get to that point if they want to get to that 2030 deadline.
Yeah, I thought that was the most interesting thing coming out of that, that it feels like Bowser was more revealing about the timeline. It's felt like that has been a pressure point that the team and her office have tried to kind of push on the council to get it done. And look, we know also that, like, Mayor Bowser and Phil Mendelssohn, the council chair, do not like each other, and that is very apparent in listening to either of them talk. They are taking shots at each other left, right, subtly, and overtly. But I feel like she did kind of say, like, yeah, we need to get, if we want this thing done by 2030, we need to have shovels in the ground next year, which means we need to have a deal done in the next couple of months.
Correct.
And so it does feel like we're still within, like the July 15th thing
was never going to happen.
Optimistic, but like realistically, we are within a window here that this can still all work.
Yes, for sure. And, I just think they want to, like, as she told me, like, they're at the 1 yard line with this. Now, what I didn't ask, okay, is it first and goal or is it fourth and goal? And who are you handing it to? So, but she used that phrase a couple times. So I think I would say, they're even early on in this process, Craig, like you talk to members of the council, like they all thought it would still pass even before they were taking votes. And so I think we're still on that path. It's just, again, it's a matter of when, but I do think that sometime over the next few weeks, and, clearly, like I said, the district does, I can't imagine that, a lot of council members, they don't want to lose this either, because there are the Congress is giving them this land for the next 99 years. How long do you, and again, what you'll hear from whether the people in favor, what they'll say is, how long do you want, if you don't do this, then what? What's the next thing that you can go there? And then how long would that take to actually get going, right? And, as Mayor Bowser points out, like their argument is like, listen, there's a $2.7 billion anchor with the Commanders willing to build here. So, all that stuff, like if you don't want to vote for that, well, then what's the alternative for this property? And then if you're Congress, like, wait a minute, we're giving you this land. What do you mean you're not doing? What do you, So like there's all those things are at play that, and of course that's what, that's what their take is. But I've, talked to enough people who will say kind of the same thing. And other people would kind of disagree with that, but that is a predominant thing you'll hear from people who definitely are in favor of it.
Yeah. All right. John Keim, ESPN with us. Of course, if you want the full interview with Mayor Bowser, you can listen to the John Keim Report. Also, he'll be doing daily podcasts after each and every training camp practice. John, I will give you a treat on the way out. A football question. I will leave it open-ended. What is the thing that you are most looking forward to day one of training camp? I know there's not a ton. I've been to enough day ones. Yeah. There's not a ton. But, like, is there something, someone, or let's even say the first week that you are like, all right, within this first week, I would like to have a feel for X?
Oh, what a feel for is, watching guys like Marshawn Lattimore and Von Miller. Because Lattimore is such a big key with where he's at, with his health, the durability, et cetera. Now, the durability we're not going to know until the season, but where's he at with this game? He had talked about being able to drive on the ball a lot better than he was last season. So do we see that? And I saw that some in the spring. Now, sometimes it might be driving on a ball and the guy, a little slant and go and you get burned, but that's fine. Like, are you driving on the ball? And that's what you want to see. And so, watching guys like Von Miller, but the real thing, Craig, is like when you get to the padded workouts and more one-on-one opportunities, when you can see a Von Miller work against Josh Connolly, like how much is that going to help Connolly develop as a tackle, especially when you have a lot of good pass rushers on the schedule early in the season. So I like the one-on-one matchups, watching those guys. And the other one, the one I want to see is, which is why Terry needs to get in here, because I want to see him against Trey Amos.
Yes.
He looks really good in the spring, but I want to see him against a top receiver, and that's McLaurin. So, that's if I'll pitch in $5 if it gets him in here so we can watch that.
We'll have to call up the league office and see how that works for the salary cap mechanics, Johns. We can't have the team getting fined because they're circumventing the cap with $5 of John Keim's money. It's not a good look.
I'll do it under the table.
All right. Buckeye to Buckeye. I'm sure you guys can figure out a system. For more from John, ESPN.com. Again, the podcast is the John Keim Report. It's awesome. You need to listen to it if you want to know everything that's going on with the Commanders. John, always appreciate it, sir. I won't be able to be at camp these first couple weeks, so I'm sad that I will miss you. But I'm actually going to Columbus, so there's that. So if you have your favorite restaurants in Columbus, you know where to send them. And I will talk to you very soon, my friend.
Thanks, Craig. Have fun.
Thanks, buddy. John Keim with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, There will be 53 commanders that make the roster. We will try to guess to our very best abilities who they will be. We'll start with the offense. We'll go from there next on the Team 980. Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio. All right, it is. Oh, wait, do I have a way to do this? Oh, man, no, that's way too complicated. I was going to try to get it with the thing on the screen, Anthony, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. All right, it's time for a 53-man roster projection. We're going to do this before the season starts. It is really hard, man. I haven't even filled in any names but the specialists yet, and I'm already like cutting. I at least like tried to lay out some of the positions to fill things in, and it's gonna be really hard. We got to get going because this takes forever. 6 o'clock, you'll hear from Phil Mendelson, the DC City Council chairman, who was on Grant and Danny earlier. You'll also hear from Adam Peters in our Pick 6 at 6. And then we will get you some Take Command a little bit later on in the show as well. Hear from Logan on the Von Miller signing. But when we look at this offensive roster, Anthony, I kind of find it hard to see them keeping 3 quarterbacks, but they did last year. And the reason is because I need those positions, like I need that roster spot somewhere else. And I think Sam Hartman can get to the practice squad. So unless Josh Johnson is going to make the team, if we put Jaden Daniels as QB1 and Marcus Mariota as QB2, do you feel very strongly about adding a QB3 there?
I think we can survive without. And my thing is, I think with Josh Johnson, and maybe part of the reason he came here is because Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota won't play a lot in the preseason. So there's going to be opportunities for him to, get some tape. So I would think Sam Hartman's probably going to end up being our QB3, and we allow him to go to the practice squad. And then if we can, trade Josh Johnson, I don't know, to a team like the Titans.
Look, he was a free agent to be picked up in the middle of the spring. Like, he ain't getting
But the Titans also just lost Will Levis.
I mean, that's true, and Josh Johnson would be a great mentor for Cam. So maybe that is the case. Maybe you can get a 7th-round pick and a conditional, hey, if he starts 3 games, you get a 6th. Like, maybe you can get something for Josh Johnson. I think more likely you just say, like, hey, man, like, stay by your phone. If we need you, we'll call you. He's a great dude to have in the room all spring and summer long. There's a lot of value there. And God forbid something happens to someone, like you have him around as an option. But like that's kind of what happens is eventually you got to make cuts. Sam Hartman, I think they love having him here. He's one of Jaden's best friends. Is he ready? Like if he has to play, that's not good. But like if Josh Johnson has to play, that's not good. So I just think there's too many good players elsewhere on the roster. I'm going 2 quarterbacks.
I'm with you. Let's get it.
Okay. I think they're going to wind up having to keep 4 running backs because I think they've got at least 5 that are worth keeping. This is a hard position, man.
I agree. This is hard. This is hard.
Brian Robinson Jr. is RB1. And I know that's like it's all of a sudden become a hot take. He's their best back. Now, is there a chance Bill crushes it and they're just like, let's just move on? Like, maybe, but like, I don't think there's any way he's not on the roster. I could also argue from just a pure runner standpoint, Chris Rodriguez is better. But again, like, B-Rob is the more complete player. So I think it's going to go B-Rob, Eckler, and then I think McNichols, like, he was really valuable in a very specific role last year. And then I think you get Krosky Merritt. And I think those are the 4. I think there's a chance that C-Rod winds up taking the McNichols spot. But that group is so good. How in the world do you try to cut that down to 3?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the other position battles, that RB3/RB4. But yeah, I think Krosky Merritt definitely makes the team. I think he'll have an opportunity during the preseason to show off what makes him so unique in terms of like his explosiveness. So I think he makes it. And then, C-Rod and McNichols just going to have to duke it out. We'll see.
I think that's the guys. They cut Michael Wiley today to make room for Von Miller, but they still have a couple other guys that, like, you're going to have some dude who has a great preseason game and not going to make it because but that's the thing. That is the position that every year you're like, oh, there's no way they'll get player X to practice squad. And they do because every team has a player X. So that is kind of like Chris Rodriguez. Could he get picked up somewhere else? Absolutely. Could he make it to practice squad again? Also, absolutely. Tight end is another one where I initially put in 3, but is Colson Yankoff going to make the team again? He was excellent on special teams. They also have a bunch of other like the Cole Turners and like they got a really intriguing tight end room. I think a lot of those guys can probably get through, or they're just like not worth it as a tight end 4. If you can get them to practice squad, very valuable to have as guys that might need to play some tight end snaps. But I think it's Ertz, I think it's Sinnott, I think it's Bates, and I would go Yankoff because he's so good on teams. Kind of I don't know if he's quite on the Tyler Owens, Jeremy Reeves level, but certainly, just below that. And a guy that made enough plays as a tight end in the preseason last year, and I think had a pretty good spring that I think he's going to make it again.
I was surprised he made it last year. I guess I won't be surprised if he makes it again. So I'm in agreement with you.
Okay, let's see. But he's like on the chopping block. He's right there.
Yeah, wide receiver 6'7", and then tight end 4.
Well, let's get to these wide receivers. This is brutal. All right, McLaurin on the team. Not currently with the team, on the team. Samuel, that's 2. Luke, or we say Luke is the I'd say Luke is next. He was drafted last year. Lane is definitely making it. Then you get to the jumble of Noah Brown, who I think is basically a lock. And then that's 5, right? Then you've got the group of Gallup. Who else? Is that the list? If those guys, I mean, what if Gallup doesn't make it out of camp? I guess that's a possibility. But then you're looking at KJ Osborne, Chris Moore, Michael Strachan, Ja'Cory Brooks, Jacoby Jones. All those guys had moments in the spring. But I tend to think that those are the 5. Those are the 6. It's McLaurin, Samuel, Brown, Gallup, Luke, and Jalen Lane. Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane.
Yeah. I think Gallup, though, will be battling with maybe a Chris Moore.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
Well, and also he's going to be battling his hamstrings. Like,
that too.
Dude retired because of injuries, came back, didn't survive the spring.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, health. So, you got to be healthy.
The good thing is I think guys like Ja'Cory Brooks, who's an undrafted free agent, he probably gets through to the practice squad. Strachan, big kid, like Chris Moore, do these guys get through? And especially now that you can put veterans on the practice squad, that is obviously helpful as well. Okay, offensive line. Tunsil, check. Coleman, check. Biadish, check. Allegretti is going to make the team. Start is a different story potentially, but he's going to make the team. Connerly, Wiley, same thing. We'll see if he starts. And then that's where it gets fun. I think Nate Erbig is a lock to make the team. I think Trent Scott's probably likely to make the team. As a swing tackle guard, like he was really good inside last year. I don't know how many more guys. Like, I think there are other good football players. I think Chris Paul's a good player. I think Chris Paul could mess around and get himself involved in that starting job at right guard while Cosmi is out. By the way, I'm not going to put Cosmi down because he is going to start on PUP, which means he can stay on PUP all the way through camp. He would be on that through week 6. Maybe it's week 4 now. I think they brought it back down to week 4.
Yes,
but he's not going to count for a roster spot initially, so we don't have to worry about him in the 53. So maybe Chris Paul is the next guy, but because Allegretti can play center, and I think Erbig has played center too, like I don't know about Michael Dieter making this team. I don't know that like a Foster Sorrell or Julian Good-Jones has like had some moments, but I kind of think like, Bobby Hart, they signed this offseason. But like, I think that's the list. I actually think offensive line is kind of straightforward. Let's add Trent Scott. I already added Trent Scott. Let's add, that's 8. I feel like they'll probably go 9. Let's add Chris Paul.
Okay.
Chris Paul, that gets us to 25. And that actually puts us in a good spot. That was less hard than I thought.
Offensively.
Defensively is, well, we're gonna do that next. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming on YouTube too at the Team 980. And of course, you can now listen to us on iHeartRadio and TuneIn as well. We are in the middle of our 53-man roster projection. The offense actually went a little smoother than I thought it would. The defense, man, we were previewing it this morning on Take Command, Anthony, and I was looking at the defensive line. And there's like 12 guys that I'd be like, sure, they could make the team. How many D linemen do you think they wind up keeping? Are we at 9? Are we at 10? What do you think we're doing here?
I'm definitely leaning toward. I mean, I like the sound of that 12 number. I'm not gonna lie, Craig. I was looking at
but you can't keep 12. There's just too many.
All right, 11.
Okay, I think it also depends on how. I'm counting Von Miller as I know they announced him as an outside linebacker. I'm counting him as a D lineman.
Yep.
So let's go Miller. Let's go Daron Payne. Let's go Kinlaw. Let's go Newton. Let's go Armstrong. Those are all absolute 100% locks.
Is that 5?
That is 5. Then you get into some of the depth pieces. I find it hard-pressed to think they're not going to keep Javonte Jean-Baptiste after what he did last year. I don't know that he's next, though. Oh, Dietrich Wise is the other guy that's a lock. He's making the team. I think Cleveland Ferrell's a lock. I think he could be a starter for you on first and second down, eat up a lot of those snaps, and let Von Miller do his thing. He was pretty good on first and second down as a run defender early last year. He got banged up. He fought through it. He probably shouldn't have. He did not play particularly well towards the end of the season. Like, early on last year, they kind of got what they expected from Cleveland Ferrell, and now he's got to do even less of it because he's behind Wise. I think Ferrell's on the team. I know that, Anthony, I don't know if you agree with that.
I was torn between him and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. I think one of them makes it. I don't think both of them make it, in part because I think Dietrich's going to line up opposite of Dorrance to start, and then you'll have Von Miller, and because you also got to keep in mind that the guy they got from the Bears.
Eddie Goldman?
No. Not Eddie Goldman. The edge.
Jacob Martin?
Jacob Martin.
See, I think he might have lost. I might keep him off because of Von Miller.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, if I'm looking at this roster and I'm Jacob Martin and I see the Von Miller signing, I'm like, oh, my job just got a lot harder. I'll tell you the other guy that definitely is making it. And I almost might put him over Cleveland Ferrell. Jalen Holmes.
Yep.
Holmes was really good last year. So let's put Holmes down as number 7.
Is Goldman down already?
So this is where it gets fun. What do you want on the interior? Goldman is one of a kind. And I think they brought him in for a reason. But, like, what if they just decide they want more versatility and speed on the inside? He's got one pitch because he's a big dude. Like, he's a nose, a shade, a one technique. But if they decide they want Sheldon Day, who can play a little bit more, Carl Davis, who can play a little bit more, I think Goldman probably makes it.
That's why they played last year, though, Craig. They went out and go get those guys, and they played well.
They did play well.
Also, that's why you go get Eddie Goldman.
I don't disagree.
It's no disrespect to, Sheldon Day or anything like that, but I think you go out and get a guy like Eddie Goldman because you know that's what he'll do. And I think Sheldon Day, he played a lot of those early downs, and then, Daron or Johnny Newton would come in and be in on those pass rushing downs. But I think it's all about what you want. I think you go out and get Eddie Goldman for that reason.
I agree with that. So I'm going to put Goldman on. That's when now we're in fun territory. So I'm going to put Ferrell back on. That's 9. We got.
Well, if you include
Miller, Payne,
yep.
That's 2. Kinlaw 3, Newton 4, Armstrong 5, Wise 6, Holmes 7, Goldman 8, Ferrell 9. I'm going to say Sheldon Day is probably the next guy as an interior rotation piece.
Yep.
And then
Javonte, please.
I think John Baptiste. And that leaves Martin off, Davis off, and like a guy like Narell Pollard, who had a nice camp last year, off. So I'm going to go John Baptiste there. So that's 10?
You said 11. That was 11.
That was 11?
Yeah, if you keep Javonte or Jean-Baptiste.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It is. Okay, let's see if we regret that. Linebacker, and this is what they did last year, by the way. They kept, I believe, 10 plus Fowler would make it 11. So Wagner is on. Luvu is on. McGee is on. And if we do 5 here, we can keep Hampton and Medrano. That actually feels pretty straightforward. Are we missing someone at linebacker? Oh, Nick Ballore.
Ooh.
That's a problem. What if they going to try to get Medrano?
I think Medrano's the guy. He might be the odd man out.
He might get practice squad. So we're going to go. Well, that also then gets in. Do you want to keep the 11th D lineman, if you will? Or would you rather keep an extra, like, would you rather get Medrano? I have a hard time thinking they're going to cut one of 5 rookies they drafted.
Last year, did we have 4 linebackers make it?
I think it was 4 plus.
And we're at 6 right now. So
Fowler. But
it was 6 plus Fowler.
Oh, they had 4 plus Fowler, so it was 5. And so this year we'd be 1 heavier because it's 5 plus Miller. But they also McGee got hurt. And so he started the season, I think, on PUP. And so that created an extra spot. So they did some funky roster stuff. Like, I think they cut Sheldon Day, then brought him back or whatever that was.
Yeah.
So now we're in a problem because Nick Ballore's making this team because of his special teams acumen. Son of a gun. This is why it's hard. Okay, look, we're going to put Ballore out in a side column for a second because let's see how heavy we are. DBs. There's no way I have enough DB spots here. Holy cow. All right, DB. Lattimore. Amos. Sainer still. Then who else?
You got Will Harris.
Well, also at the corner spot.
Oh, you want corners?
Yeah, what's his name? New England.
Jonathan Jones.
Yeah, Jones, Noah, and now I've got room for 3 safeties before we hit 53. That ain't gonna work.
Nah, we have one more spot because if you scroll all the way to the bottom,
that's true. That's true. Okay, so that makes me feel slightly better, but not super great. All right, Harris, Martin, Reeves, Butler, and then we also have Tyler Owens. Is there any other DBs that we're forgetting?
No.
Bobby Price, Ben Nickel. Like, there's some guys that could make it, but unlikely. Like Kevon Seymour, maybe, but I kind of think that we're probably set at those spots.
For special, yeah.
So we're too heavy with Owens and Ballore, 2 special teams guys that we got to find room for. Who are we cutting?
Medrano.
There's no way they're cutting Medrano. Unless
Not
he just
cutting.
stinks. But like if you subject him to waivers, someone else can sign him.
What about Dominique Hampton? I think it's between those.
They didn't spend the entire year redshirting Dominique Hampton and spend a 5th round pick on him to cut him.
I would go down to that D line then.
I think that's where it is.
Sheldon Day. Or Farrell.
Because that's the thing is like, where is and by the way, we've already cut Martin, so we're already down a guy that I thought would had a really good chance. Obviously, then they signed Von Miller. How many inside guys? Like, that's the thing is like, how many guys on the inside? So if you have Payne, Kinlaw, Newton, Goldman,
and then Day,
is that enough? Is that can you afford Sheldon Day knowing that Jalen Holmes can play some inside, that John Baptiste can play some inside? Wise can play inside? I guess that's where you go. I guess Sheldon Day, so sorry, you are going back to practice squad with the hope that you will eventually get called up if there's an injury, which tends to happen at some point on the D-line. So that puts Ballore in. And then we got to make a cut somewhere else. Maybe you go back to just 8 offensive linemen and you try to get Chris Paul through to the practice squad and you go heavy on defense.
Yeah.
So it's Chris Paul or Trent Scott. They're battling for a spot. Those guys, Nate Erbig, like those guys are all battling for a spot. This feels incredibly dumb to be uneven, but we're going to roll with it. And we're going to, but it also is like, man, would they possibly say Reeves and Butler and Owens, you're battling for 2 spots? That feels crazy, but is it?
I mean, you bring Reeves back. He's on a 1 year.
Yeah, but he's like your captain. 1,
yeah, that's what
2,
I'm saying. I don't
3,
think you cut
4,
him.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 DBs. Yeah, that's
probably way too many.
Nah, that's probably right. 5 corners, 5 safeties with a bunch of special teams value. Noah, I could make an argument for if you just go 4 corners, but that leaves you light. You definitely need really good practice squad depth there in case the guys get hurt. And maybe a guy like Seymour you can do that with. But that's it. That's our initial 53.
Man, that
2
was stressful.
2 quarterbacks. I mean, you could make it. You cut like a guy McNichols and C-Rod, and you go 3 running backs. So you cut Yankoff. That's another one. You could create a spot there. But, whew, man, that's tough. Good news. They got a lot of good football players. Bad news. Terry McLaurin's not in camp right now. We will next dive into off the field what Phil Mendelson, the chair of the D.C. City Council, had to say to Grant and Danny about the RFK situation. On the field, what Adam Peters had to say and Dan Quinn had to say earlier today. That's our Pick 6 at 6 next on The Hoffman Show. the Hoffman Show, final hour here on the Team 980. You can also listen to us on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn Radio. Final hour of me for the week. Again, I got something I got to tend to, so I'll be out the rest of this week and much of next week as well. You'll be in good hands. Linnell Willingham, Doc Walker, and the crew will have us covered, so make sure you are locked into them. I don't know whether they do pick six. Anthony, when I'm gone and like there's training camp, we do a pick six at 6. Will Doc be diving and bobbing and weaving in and out of sound bites?
I'll probably lead them that way. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you can look forward to a pick 6 at 6 then, which we can get to you right now. We got on and off the field stuff to deal with. Let's hit it.
See, I wasn't even ready, Craig.
Oh, you forgot. It's been a long time since we did a pick 6 at 6. Tell you what. Let's skip the intro because if you can pull up the music at some point, great. But we're short on time and long on things to talk about. So Phil Mendelson, the D.C. City Council chair, was on Grant and Danny earlier this afternoon. The full interview is worth your time. Search Grant and Danny wherever you get your podcast, and you can listen to that or rewind on the Odyssey app. But Mendelson was asked about where the timeline is, the president's comments, all kinds of stuff. And I thought in terms of the president's comments, he first said, like, this is a distraction. I don't know why we're talking about this. But where this becomes actually important, if the president of the United States wants to get involved in this, is like, can he actually get involved in this? Here is Mendelson's understanding of like how seriously we take the president's social media threats, if we want to call them that, relative to what he can actually do about things.
Well, let's see. When we had Audi Field proposal before us, it was 7 months.
Yeah, I thought we were just doing Mendelson 3 cuts.
Stadium, if I remember correctly, that was over a year. I'm not saying that that much time. In fact, I have said repeatedly that we are working.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
It's possible.
Also, we're on the stream.
Get to an agreement with the commanders, and I can't emphasize that enough. Moving quickly, so the mayor. The mayor had an announcement at the end of April, but then she took a month to send us the legislation. And when she sent us the legislation, we said, well, can you please give us the economic study that you did so we can understand the economics of this? And it took her another 2-3 weeks to get us that. That has not been the case with the commanders. Everything we've asked for from them, they've been very responsive and very prompt. The mayor forgot to ask for a tax abatement financial analysis. We asked for that. We're getting that, I believe, later this week. The our budget office has done an economic impact statement, which we will get this week. And just last week, we got the report from our consultant, the Robert Bob Group. These reports are useful to our understanding and the public understanding what the effects are and the benefits of this project, of the stadium. And getting all these reports in less than 2 months, I don't think that's dragging our feet, not even close.
Phil Mendelson, the city council chair, and also my bad on the bad toss there. I told Anthony to run a post and then threw a corner. So it's day one of training camp for everybody. Obviously there he's talking about the timelines compared to Audi Field, compared to Nats Park. And to Mendelson and the council's credit, like all that stuff is legit. Like they have moved fairly quickly here, but these things take time. Also, what I think is very evident in listening to Mendelson and listening to Bowser with Keim is these two sides of the city do not like each other. And they will take pot shots and trying to read through the pot shots of, well, the council's dragging their feet. Well, the mayor didn't give us the information. Like, it's very difficult to understand like who is telling the truth and how much the truth of that each is telling matters. But ultimately, like if we're comparing it to the months that it's taken in the past, this process, if it wraps in the next couple of weeks, which Mendelson went out of his way to say the commanders have been outstanding partners and we feel like we're getting very close, they are on track to get what they need to get done. As for the news of the weekend, the president getting involved, here is what Mendelson had to say about that.
I think it's a stretch. Why do I think it's a stretch? First of all, under the Constitution, Congress is who has jurisdiction over the issues involving the district, not the president. Second of all, because the land has been transferred by Congress, so the president would have to go through Congress to undo that. Third of all, the National Capital Planning Commission, if it has a role, that would be sometime in the future, maybe next year, and it would be, I believe, just advisory site plan review. So people have been talking about these levers, but what I think is really going on is it's just a distraction. It's a distraction for the team, a distraction for us, and maybe a distraction for the president as well.
So the one thing I'll say about that is, from my understanding of like civics, he's correct. The president can't unilaterally, with an executive action, just undo this lease, although there has been some reporting that maybe he can. But I also don't know how much that matters, because this particular president and this particular Congress, if he says jump, they say how high. And again, like, I'm not here to talk politics of whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, but like, that's just the facts on the ground as we've seen them, is this Congress, specifically the House, but also the Senate. If the president says like jump, they go how high. And if he says we're undoing this deal, and you've already seen some of his more ardent supporters like on social media talking about this, I think they would do that. Is that what Congress should spend its time doing? I talked about that yesterday. I don't particularly think so. On either side of this, whether it was anything related to DC, just like let us do our thing. But that's the state of play. The one thing that, like, if presidential politics get involved, could the team just be like, we're going to bail, go to Maryland? Maybe. Other than that, is Phil Mickelson worried about Maryland getting involved? Here he is on Grant and Danny.
Well, I don't want to be glib, but I think no. My answer is no. I believe that Governor Moore said a week ago he wasn't interested or wasn't talking to the commanders. But, the commanders would have to start all over again if they were to go somewhere else. And we're pretty far down the road with our discussions. They reached a tentative agreement with the mayor, and then they've been in negotiations with my office, and we're very, very far down the road. So no, I don't. But I think that's interesting but unnecessary speculation. Again, we're moving quickly to try to get to an agreement.
So that's Phil Mickelson. If you want to hear more from him, check out his chat with Grant and Danny earlier today. Just search for that podcast in their feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Logan Paulson breaks down what he sees on tape from Von Miller and how it could affect the rest of the Commanders' defensive line at 6:30. More on Adam Peters' thoughts on Von Miller and Dan Quinn's thoughts on Von Miller next in the back half of our Pick 6 at 6. But first, here on the Hoffman Show, the latest from the world of women's sports, presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna at Wawa, with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. Continuing our pick six here on the Hoffman Show, biggest Commanders storylines of the day. The RFK Stadium situation continues to dominate the headlines. Phil Mendelssohn on Grant and Danny earlier. The other obvious big headline, we spent the first hour plus of our show on it, is Terry McLaurin has not reported to training camp. You want to hear what Adam Peters had to say about that? Go back to the hour one podcast of the show or rewind on the Odyssey app to 4:15, and we played the bites from Adam Peters then. But outside of McLaurin and outside of RFK, the biggest storyline, as we pick up with number 4, is Von Miller. He is now in D.C. with the Commanders. Signed yesterday, reported the whole deal. I think he's going to speak to the media on Thursday. Tomorrow, of course, a light day. Obviously, the next couple of days are a big ramp up. But why Von Miller? Adam Peters has a long history with Miller, and here is what he had to say about the newly signed oldest player on the team, 36-year-old Von Miller.
Yeah, I think just in our conversations with DQ and myself and the staff, we did see, pass rusher is something we still wanted to add throughout the time. During free agency, we looked to add a few guys and didn't work out. So, but we saved some money aside really in order to do this and find out the best guy out there. And I've had a lot of history with Von and know the type of person he is. Obviously, his play speaks for himself. And when you turn on the tape from last year, I was like shocked to see how good he still was and how well he got off the ball and just what type of impact he had on the field. And knowing the type of impact he had in the locker room in Denver, and then getting unsolicited calls from the teams that he's been on since then, talking about what a great guy he is, that really made it a really easy decision for us to bring him in. We brought him in a couple weeks ago, or I don't know, it's been a few weeks now, but had a great meeting with him and just knew he was the right guy to bring in, so we're thrilled to have him.
So just real quick, a couple things on that. One, you'll hear more about our thoughts on Miller, the player, coming up at 6:30. Myself and Logan, we both watched some tape. I was pretty impressed with the tape that I watched. Like, he's not Von Miller of 2018, 2019. He's not going to go out and win Defensive Player of the Year, but like, he still has just a really innate know-how of how to do this. And I think that is something this team, I don't want to say desperately needed, but like definitely did not have. They were going to have to try to make it work without that. Now they have it. And we'll see what he can do at the age of 36. On the character stuff, he's been a great teammate. That is very different football character, locker room character than like how you are off the field. Peters was asked about the suspensions and domestic violence incidents that Miller has, and basically gave what I think is a pretty stock answer amongst executives across sports of like, we did our homework, we're comfortable with it. What you hear in the news isn't always the full picture. And I would hope so, because the news reporting around the incident from 2023 from Miller is harrowing and horrifying. What he put his pregnant girlfriend through in assaulting her, as was reported in police reports at the time. Now, she recanted the story and has changed it. And sometimes, like, again, I don't need to go through a whole dissertation on domestic violence. If you're actually interested in that topic, like, I would highly recommend doing some more reading on it. You will learn a lot. And why I think it is easy to scoff at many of these statements often that executives make, and how the patterns develop and the permission structures develop for these incidents to happen and then be brushed aside, especially in the cases of particularly famous men. But they all we can do is say, I hope that is true. I hope that when they looked into this, it was something that got blown out of proportion, that Von Miller hasn't done horrible things to his longtime girlfriend and the mother of his children, and that they're bringing an upstanding citizen into the community. So that is what it is. In terms of who he is in the locker room and what he is going to be around football, I have no doubts that he's awesome. He has been a longtime mentor for a lot of other pass rushers in the league. So there definitely are very positive things to his character. It doesn't wipe away the other stuff. And we just have to hope that Adam Peters and the people that he employs to find out these types of things really are on the nose, that the truth is something that they can live with, and that's not because they're brushing it aside, because it's different than what the initial reports were a couple of years ago. All right, moving on, number 5 in our pick 6 at 6. Miller, 36 years old, not helping the fact that the Commanders were one of the oldest teams in the league. In fact, that locked them in as the oldest team in the league. Snap adjusted before the Miller signing, they were like 4th or 5th in terms of you project the ages of players to play times their snap numbers, but still definitely on the older side. So, Adam Peters, why'd you build an old team?
I'm sure there's a ton of factors that go into that, and there are a ton of factors that go into that. But I think really, signing guys like Bobby or Zach, those guys, I think we showed last year. People thought we brought them in to be like coaches on the field, but and certainly they are. They pass along a ton of knowledge, not just to the guys in their position group, but to guys across the whole defense or the offense. And Bobby and Jaden have a great relationship too, understanding and making each other better. But we saw with those guys, they're still really, really good players, and that goes the same for a guy like Vaughn. He's older, but he's still got a lot in the tank. So we're going to look for great players that fit us, and whether they're 22 or 35, if they can help us win, we're gonna bring them in.
He was asked earlier in the press conference about like being a win now, and I thought it was a good job by whoever asked the question. Was basically like, I know, I'm sure you hate this because you're trying to win every year, but Adam was basically like, yeah, we're just trying to win football games. Like, that is the point. That's why we're here. We hope I don't know about a window. The window is open as long as we're here. Like, that's what we want. And the fact that they were able to accomplish that in year one, okay, cool. And I think the thing that's pretty magical about the way that they've done this is they haven't affected their long-term flexibility at all. They are still set up years from now to have a ton of ability to maneuver in free agency, acquire players via trade, etc. And then obviously I think the other thing that has to happen is you have to reacquire some draft picks, and you have to hit on a very high percentage of your draft picks. That's always how you have to build in the NFL. So definitely interesting stuff from Peters there. Last but not least, Dan Quinn on what is actually the most important thing. Look, nothing else matters for the Commanders unless Jaden Daniels is at least as good as he was last year. You can be a lot better in a lot of other places, and if he regresses in a major way, then you're not going to be a double-digit win football team that's fighting for the playoffs. He is the key to everything. And that's a good thing because of who he is and the way that he works. Just ask his head coach.
I think more growth. And one thing I've learned over the year from Jaden, and there's no limits on him, because this is somebody that absolutely is a savage from a work standpoint and just absolutely puts it in. So the skill work, the techniques, the knowledge of the offense, all of those things are going to be enhanced. And he's thrown himself an excellent offseason. We had a good conversation on the phone just the other night, chopping it up about the team, the summer, the offseason, and you can feel his energy. And just walking out here, when you walk into our building, there's a lot of energy with our team, and he's right in the middle of all that. But I would never count him out or, put him, mistake him for not doing anything other than absolutely emptying the tank to go for it.
Anthony, would you describe me as a savage in terms of my work ethic?
Yes, actually.
Oh, you would? Okay, good. I wasn't fishing for compliments. I was really fishing for a punchline to make a joke here, but I'll take that. That's all I need. I would like one day my boss or my coworkers to be like, that dude's a savage in terms of his work ethic. That's a high compliment, especially in the world of professional football where there's a lot of dudes who work really hard. That's who you want to follow, is that guy.
He is.
Yeah. I think that is well documented at this point. Did you know he shows up at like 5:30 in the morning? All right.
Earlier.
Yeah. So that's our pick six at 6. Biggest, most important sound bites. You'll continue to hear those throughout the week, guided expertly by Linnell and Doc, as training camp officially opens practice tomorrow out in Ashburn. When we get back, Von Miller, what do we expect based off the tape that we watched of him in Buffalo? Me, Logan, tell you next on the Team 980. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always alive as well on the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. Take command. You can find it in all of those places as well. Logan and I did a full season preview, but we started the show diving in on Von Miller. It was our first chance to talk about the signing. And one thing that I think is worth noting is that Von Miller was listed as an outside linebacker. That is the exact same designation that Dante Fowler got last year. Not a defensive end, outside linebacker. And that might influence, or might be I shouldn't say influence. It might be a hint to how they plan on using him. And that is where we pick up our conversation with me, Logan, a whole bunch of tape watching, and some analysis for you on the Commanders' newest outside edge player.
Yeah, I mean, I think the role you described is perfect for him, and I think that's exactly what you see on tape. I think that's like when you watch the Buffalo film, like you just like pull a clip, pull a game, right, and it has all his plays kind of parsed out, has the down and distance on there. They all say third down for the most part.
Yeah.
So like they were using him in the way that I think the Commanders are going to use him. Like you're looking for a guy who, again, I think he could still play on first and second down, but he's 36 years old. So how many reps do you want him taking in that capacity? And then in a game that's a pass-driven league, like how do we affect the passer? And I think he's a guy that can still get that done. You know, I think he had 8 sacks, 7 sacks last year, something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not an insignificant number for the amount of snaps that he's actually rushing the quarterback. And so I do think you get a guy who can win a one-on-one, and I think that's important. And I think he understands kind of the nuance of rushing the quarterback still, right? He understands like when the tackle is over leveraged, when he's not sitting on the line, when he can use that great spin move and get inside. He's still got enough vertical juice to win the edge, and he's got enough length and enough power to kind of bull and get after some people. So I think, again, he's not like, I think about Von Miller when I played against him, which was, 2012, 13, 14, and he was maybe the best defensive player in the league. He's definitely not that guy anymore, but he still has something to him, right? He's one of the better athletes to play outside linebacker in a long time, and I think that shows up. He has an athletic surplus, and really what you're getting is the pass rushing nuance, right? You're getting a guy who understands how to win multiple situations in a game. He understands, and he kind of seems to make the plays in the big moments, like, which is something that I think
we've talked about that a lot with like the great players like him, TJ Watt. Like these guys just have a knack for doing it. Aaron Donald, famously in the Super Bowl, but also many other times. Like when you need it, those are the guys that figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think you look at him and you say, man, like this is exactly kind of what the doctor ordered. And I think it's something that I think you and I probably expected to happen. I actually thought this would happen later in training camp. But again, like it's good that they got it done now so he can be here and kind of, become indoctrinated in the culture. But he brings a guy, and I think about like what you'd get out there, right? You get Duran, Kinlaw, Jerzon, you get Dorrance Armstrong, you get him, and then you get Frankie Louvu as a blitzer. And I think you've got 5 guys in pass rushing situations that could win on one-on-one. And that's exactly what you need. So, I think a lot of fans are stoked on the name. They should be. He's still a good football player. He's not the guy he was 10 years ago, but who is. And I think he fits kind of a perfect niche for this team at the moment. I expect to see Dietrich Rise and Cleveland Farrell in on first and second down. And then I expect him to come in and throw his pitch and win some reps and disrupt the quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I think also when you watch him, I'm excited to see what happens for the other guys too. Like when you compare him to Dante Fowler, like Dante was a bit of a wild man, as we've talked about. There's a lack of discipline to his play. It still can produce at a very high level, but there is a boom or bust nature to the way Dante Fowler played the position. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me about watching some of Miller is like he looks like he'd be a joy to rush with. Like he's not going to get wildly out of his lane. Like there are times that you're like, oh, okay, he's the guy on this rep, and like he kind of has the freedom to do what he wants. But like that group in Buffalo rushed pretty well together. They had 20 sacks with him on the field last year. They had 6 of them were his. So, but when you go sorting the snap numbers, or you go sorting the snaps in NFL Pro, and it's like, all right, I want Von Miller on the field, and I want plays that end in sacks. And there's 20 of them. And a lot of times he is a guy that helps create it for others. It's a stunt, and he's eating 2, and a linebacker loops around. So like Bobby and Frankie, like some of the stuff they could do with them looping around off of Von and the attention he's going to get, like that's good stuff. You see, they they kind of shaded to his side and created a one-on-one elsewhere, that guy's able to win. So if you're Deron Payne, you're Johnny Newton, you're Javon Kinlaw, and you're going to be someone rushing next to Von Miller in a way that was more predictable than rushing next to a guy like Dante Fowler, I think that's an exciting element of his game. Like, to me, you just see the maturity in it, and like, oh yeah, this is a dude who understands how the league works, which is part of what made him great in the first place. But at the age of 36, like, that's also how you stay around for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, I think there is an element of that, and I'd be curious to see how they coach him here and like what they want to get out of him. I think, you know, when you have a piece like this, and again, like Buffalo chose to use him in a very specific way, kind of as one piece of a whole. But I also think he's a guy that could still be your ace if you needed him to. And so I'm curious to see if they deploy him in like a lot of games, or they say, hey man, like, go win, like get in a wide 9, go win, and we'll have Deron in a wide 3 and like let him win the one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we just trying to find one-on-ones, or are we trying to rush as 4? And when I say trying to rush as 4, are we running games, or running a lot of line stunts? Or because again, you still need to, even though you're winning one-on-ones, you need to rush together to keep the quarterback in the pocket, obviously.
Right.
But I think like that'll be interesting to see kind of the direction they go with this. You know, because last year they kind of had to get to some different stuff because they didn't have a ton of pass rush juice. So I think that's the thing that I'm most curious about, is just like what does this change kind of Joe Witt Jr.'s approach to rushing the quarterback, getting after the quarterback, having this piece here? I think it might. I also think maybe it just is something that adds on, like you kind of keep your same foundational stuff, and then you say, hey, this is the stuff we can do now that Vaughn is here and Dorrance is healthy and all those types of things. So I'm just really curious about it. I like the addition. I like the signing. I think he's going to provide a lot of, especially if they can be better on first and second down, he's going to provide a lot of value. And I think that's where some of the other moves they've made become really impactful. And we're going to talk about this when we do our defensive line preview. It's like some of those guys, like they're not the biggest names, but if they get you better on first, second down, then he can comes in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. And again, like when you know it's a passing down as a pass rusher, you have a lot more juice to you. And I think like that's something that, again, could help potentially maximize this signing even more.
Yeah, well, let's dive into that part, and then we can kind of do the back 7 is its own section of the defensive preview, and then we'll hit the offense to wrap things up. But if you think of how Von Miller affects the D-line overall, one, this is a guy that's run a pass rush camp for a lot of years. Like, the knowledge that he has should make everyone better. Inside guys, outside guys, like just having a voice like that in the room, in theory, should be the kind of thing that elevates everyone. Nevertheless, what he brings to you on the field of filling a role that they didn't necessarily have filled. But what does that do you think, to the depth chart and the ability for this D-line to, coalesce into a really good, deep unit? Good, is that the right word? Great, that's probably too much, but like, what are the chances versus like, I don't know, man, this kind of gets them to average, and we'll pray for the best.
Yeah, I think I like the way you describe that. Does this get them above average? Because last year, I think you could argue, like based on production, that they were below average a little bit, right? And so, but I do think what you see is kind of an interesting group, and like we've talked about it a lot over summer. But I think you see a lot of guys who are more specialized than I would have thought. Kind of coming in, like usually you try to find that 3-down defensive end, the 3-down defensive tackle, but now you got a bunch of guys who feel like they're kind of specialty players. Like it feels like Dietrich Wise, if Golden ends up making the team. And again, like that's something that's really interesting to talk about, is like all of a sudden with this addition, like the defensive line room is incredibly dense. You know what I mean? Like it's like, You're like, man, there's a lot of depth here, and everyone kind of has different roles within this depth. So like I think you get your like first and second down group of guys, right? Which to me would be like, Deron, who seems like a 3-down player, Dietrich, Cleland, Dorrance probably to a certain extent, and then probably Kinlaw over Johnny, but like we'll see how that that position battle kind of matriculates over the course of training camp. And then I think you do have a specialty guy in Goldman if he does make the team, like we just talked about. So that to me feels like your first and second down group, and then I think you kind of transition into that 3rd down position group where it's like you get Vaughn, you get Kinlaw, you get Deron, you get Dorrance, and then you get Frankie Louvu in some type of pass rushing situation. And that feels like a completely different group almost in terms of utilization. But that first group needs to do well. And that's the other thing I'm so interested about with regards to training camp, is like who is in that group. Because right now it feels like Cleland, Dietrich, Dorrance are kind of the guys that I'd use there, but maybe Holmes makes a push and
I was
kind of
going to
finds
say
a
Jalen
rotational
Holmes is the
element.
guy, like if I was going to highlight someone, considering how he played last year and the way he played, Jalen Holmes feels like he should be in that first and second down group. Like he was really good as an edge setter last year. Like he plays hard, he plays physical. Maybe not the most talented guy in the world pass rush wise, but like he feels like he should be in that group.
And again, like this is one of those things that's kind of tough because like look at the contract values and like look at how they kind of like he started the season. Did he start on practice squad or he kind of was like up and down?
I think he did. I think he started on practice squad and then got elevated.
And so do you feel like you could get him to practice squad? And like that's where in terms of like 53-man roster projection, like Dietrich is a guy that kind of sought out. They didn't pay him a ton of money, but they paid him enough, right? We haven't even talked about Jacob Martin in terms of his pass rush upside. He feels like another guy that could be kind of in that third down pass rush group. But I went back and watched some of his stuff with the Bears. Like he did some nice stuff on first and second down as well. So that to me, this group is really interesting because it really comes down to roles and utilization. And I think Von Miller's addition is kind of this stone in the lake that's causing all these ripple effects. And I think could change the dynamic of how you view this group. So I don't know. It's interesting because I do feel like there's like two teams that need to be made here on the defensive line. One is the group on first and second down, and one is the third down group. And I think Vaughn is just based on the number he got at signing, $6 million guaranteed, total of $10 million. He feels like the guy that's going to kind of be an anchor of that pass rushing group. But in terms of the other players, I think there's still a lot of competition and a lot of roles that need to be identified, which again, I think is really interesting and really compelling in terms of something to watch for training camp.
Yeah, Carl Davis, Sheldon Day obviously played really well for guys that kind of came in last year. They're going to fight for some of those interior spots. Martin's the guy, like if I'm Jacob Martin and I see the Von Miller signing, I go, damn it. Like just because he's the pass rush specialty guy and he was kind of the only one in that realm. And now, he's going to be competing with Von Miller, but also with Javonte Jean-Baptiste. Like Andre Jones Jr., who made the team last year and is still around, even though he was a 7th round pick in Rivera's last year. But like his special teams value is pretty high because he's really fast and runs down and plays hard on teams. So there's some interesting guys. Norrell Pollard had a very nice camp last year. He's still floating around on the back end. So there is, probably like 14 guys fighting for 9 spots. And like, the top 7 or 8 are probably taken. But I do think this is a very, very interesting group. I also wonder how thin they go at linebacker to create some more space. So we're going to do a 53-man roster projection on the radio show today, and I have no idea how that's going to pan out still. Because AKA, I haven't done it yet. We haven't pre-done it. We're going to do it live. That's what we do on the radio, look, and we do it live. Anything else on the D-line that we want to hit before we get into the back 7?
Yeah, and I think we kind of touched on this already. I think there's a lot of solid football players, but it's roles, it's opportunities, and kind of how the staff sees these guys. And I think that's something that is maybe different than was last year. We were talking about this in the production meeting. It's not like there's like a position battle, but it's like, who's going to be the starting first down defensive end? Like that is an interesting kind of conversation because we don't really know. I mean, like you can assume. But
Dorrance is going to be on one side. Who's on the other?
Yeah, and so like, how does that go? And then who's going to be the nose guard, right? Because I'm assuming Duran's going to play 3 technique. Is it Kinlaw? Do they kind of flip-flop those roles? Like, that's going to be interesting too. So
that's interesting. You think Duran's going to play 3 tech? For years, he's been stuck as the 1 because John was playing the 3 techs. You think he's going to flip over?
I think if I think about who my best defensive lineman is at the moment, it's probably Duran's in the conversation. And where do you put your most impactful interior defensive player? You put him at 3 technique, right? And so and that's interesting because I also think that Kinlaw, for an example, is a better 3 technique than a shade, right? I think Drazan's a better 3 technique than a shade. And this is something that Dallas kind of ran into for years. You had a bunch of 3 techniques, but you didn't have a true nose, so like that's where, Goldman is interesting to me because it's like, he is a true nose, but like, they didn't pay him a ton of money to come in. He wasn't at OTAs. He wasn't at minicamp. Like, he feels like the thing they absolutely have to have in this defense to be good against the run on first, second down. But do they say, hey, we want to be fast, we want to be versatile, we want to be athletic on the interior? And again, those are the decisions that right now you can speculate about, but you don't really get concrete information until you start watching training camp practice. So that to me is why this group is so interesting. It's like, because there's not like battles necessarily, but there's spots open. Who's the nose guard? Who's the other defensive end? Those are going to be interesting position battles, because I think it could be Holmes, it could be Duchek, it could be anybody, right? And then who's going to kind of solidify themselves as that pass rushing subgroup? And like, do you have to keep more guys on the defensive line to get that done? So like, do you keep 10? Do you keep 11 on the defensive line because you want that the kind of the platooning of the groups? And again, when you're doing a roster prediction, these are things you have to consider big time. But I do think it's more interesting than I think a lot of people want to give credit for.
For sure. And then, there was times at last year when like it was Day and Duran, like that was the better combo. Because like Sheldon Day just did his job as a pro, and not going to be an impactful playmaker, but like he'll eat a double team. And so like, what kind of combos do those down roster guys have on first and second down, especially first down, to make this all kind of come together and coalesce? All right. Offense and defense preview coming. Let's get to the back seven on the defensive side here on Take Command. All right, if you want that, you can check out Take Command wherever you get your podcasts. When we get back, we wrap up the show with real things real people said into real microphones. the Hoffman Show. Wrapping up here on the Team 980, the Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube at the Team 980. And Anthony, we're running out of shows, so let's get right to it. It's time for Real Things.
Real things.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Set into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right, we got two things in Real Things today. You want to start on the funny or end on the funny, Anthony? Do we go heartfelt or funny first?
I think we go heartfelt first.
Damian Lillard's going back to Portland. This is awesome. He should have never left. I'm sure he wishes that he didn't. I don't know that he ever really wanted to, just kind of felt that. The organization felt like they had to. I mean, it works out for the Blazers. They got a bunch of draft capital for Dame, but he winds up back there after the buyout in Milwaukee, which was very exciting news to his kids.
They're all old enough to pick up on it now, especially Dame Jr., but I didn't say nothing to him about it until Saturday when I actually signed, and they were with me, and we got back in the car to go home, and I got to a red light, and I just turned around, and my daughter was looking at me, and I told her, and she was like, wait, so like we don't have to get on the airplane to Milwaukee no more? I was like, yeah, like y'all don't gotta get on the plane no more. And she was like, so you're gonna be at your house in Portland the whole time? I was like, yeah. And she was like, what? Like she was. And then her brothers was kind of listening to that back and forth, and they were all extremely excited. So I saved it for when I knew it was official. That's awesome.
That's really cool. Dame's family's still there. He's kept his house. Like Portland was where he was going to spend. I assume it's where he retired to. Like, and it's awesome I think it's just great because the contract he signed, he can go there. He can rehab in a place that's familiar with people that are familiar. He'll play a year, hopefully not this year, but next. And if he plays really well, he can opt out and go back into free agency, or he can stay and just retire a Blazer. He's got that kind of optionality. It's a kind of the rehab special contract. I heard Rob Mahoney call it that the other day. It's similar to deal to what Kyrie signed. It's kind of a 2+1. You get a rehab year, and then you figure it out from there. But considering the family ties for Portland and Dame, like I absolutely love that. On the opposite end of the spectrum, there was this, Anthony, where's this from again? Michael Beasley? Talking to someone.
He was on a podcast with...
He's on a podcast with someone. I apologize for not knowing who it is.
It's from CBS Sports, I know.
Okay, from CBS Sports, and had this hilarious quote about a coach that he used to play for.
Toughest defender you've ever faced?
Rick Adelman, Eric Spoelstra, whatever head coach at the time.
Eric Spoelstra is one of the toughest defenders you've ever faced?
Yeah, he never put me in the game. Spo, I love you. Don't. Spo's my guy. Don't.
I guess that is defending. It's blocking you from playing. Okay.
It is. It's blocking him from scoring. The problem is that Michael Beasley never really was that interested in defending, and that's not a good way to get on the floor for Eric Spoelstra in the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I don't think
he's one of the most talented dudes. Like, even KD always says he's probably one of the best scorers he's ever come across.
Him at K-State was nasty.
Nasty.
He was so good. The problem was you got to do a little more at the NBA level. Yeah. And I think he wasn't always focused on the right stuff. Think he had some other hobbies that perhaps limited his ability to be the best pro that he possibly could. All right. That's our show for today. Appreciate everyone listening as always. I will be back next Friday. So you definitely want to tune in then. Definitely going to want to tune in next Friday. The return of your boy. Until then, Doc Walker, Linnell Willingham have you covered. Anthony, of course, as well. Y'all take good care of them. They'll take good care of you. Enjoy Commanders Camp. I'll be following from afar. I will be on Take Command, so catch you there. Until then, be well.